With the latest, House Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik. Congresswoman, you are, I would say, the foremost voice on this issue. You grilled 3 presidents of universities, 2 of which had to resign in the aftermath. You're leading these probes, House Republicans, and we just heard Alexis talk about outside agitators. John Kirby said he can't find evidence of bad actors. We brought it for him. Let's pull it up. I want to bring this up for you. Glenn Youngkin, non-student participation. Mayor Eric Adams, outside agitators. Northeastern, University of Texas, University of Florida, all pointing to outside agitators. Do you have any idea who these outside agitators are? Do you think you can find out?
Absolutely, and that's going to be part of this House Republican-wide probe, Kayleigh. That's why it's so important that we've expanded this investigation, because it's not just oversight of U.S. taxpayer dollars to these institutions. It's student visas for foreign students who are harassing Jewish students, who are attacking Jewish students on campus. The outside agitators piece, absolutely, we need to work with our law enforcement to get to the bottom of it, and we are committed to doing so. Take Columbia. NYPD put out data that over 40% of the individuals were outside and unaffiliated with Columbia. Now, you still have Columbia professors and Columbia students, and they need to be expelled, but that's why these investigations are so important. And as we saw, the hearing where my questions went viral and the answers, the morally bankrupt answers from the presidents of Penn and Harvard, that set off a real crisis across higher education that has been brewing for a very long time. And it's House Republicans that are going to lead to protect Jewish students and specifically condemn anti-Semitism and get rid of this woke radicalization. And you know who has been so silent? Joe Biden.
He has, and it's appalling. Congresswoman, you had another moment, and this was with the president of Columbia. You asked her about a professor. His name is Professor Joseph Mossad. Joseph Mossad called the October 7th attacks, that's where babies were slaughtered, he called these attacks awesome. I want to play the sound of when you grilled the professor of Columbia about if there were any repercussions for this professor.
So let me be clear, President, that he was spoken to. Who spoke with him?
He was spoken to by his head of department and his dean.
And what was he told?
I was not in those conversations. I think.
But you're not aware what he was
that
told?
language
What
was
was he told?
unacceptable.
What was he told?
That language was unacceptable.
And were there any other enforcement actions taken? Any other disciplinary actions taken?
In his case, he has not repeated anything like that ever since.
Does he need to repeat stating that the massacre of Israeli civilians was awesome? Does he need to repeat his participation in an unauthorized pro-Hamas demonstration?
It sounds like what she said is he praised a terrorist attack and just got a stern talking to. Is that right?
It's right, and what's worse, Kayleigh, is that she testified that he was under investigation. There were 2 professors that are pro-Hamas professors that I asked about, and she said both were under investigation. It turns out that those professors then said to the New York Times the day after the hearing that there was no investigation, that they were not removed from the classroom, that they were not removed as academic chair. So this is a real legal issue for Manoush Shafik, who is president of Columbia. You can't lie to Congress. That's a federal offense, and that's why the document requests are so incredibly important, to make sure that we subpoena all the documents and lack thereof if there were no investigations, which we now know there were not. So there was a lot more here. I think the Columbia strategy was to say whatever they had to say in the hearing to try to avoid the fate of the former presidents of Penn and Harvard. But the problem with that, Kayleigh, is there was no action to back it up. Columbia had not taken adequate action to hold those pro-Hamas professors account by suspending them and expelling them from campus, to hold the students account by expelling them to campus, and to protect Jewish students. They failed on all those counts.
I would love to see Professor Shafik's text messages. That'd be really revealing. Should she step aside based on just the public evidence you've seen?
Of course, I was the first member to call for her resignation. It's clear that it's out of control at Columbia. Just look at the fact that they are negotiating. She negotiated. She set these deadlines for when the pro-Hamas encampment needed to leave, and then she allowed these agitators to go beyond that deadline. There has been no enforcement, and what's most important here is Jewish students have not been protected on Columbia's campus, and it is required by Title VI, the executive order that you remember that President Trump put into place that protects Jewish Jewish students, they have failed at Columbia to follow the law, and Joe Biden's Department of Education has failed to hold them accountable. That's why it's been so incredibly important that House Republicans have stepped in our oversight capacity as good stewards of taxpayer dollars, but also making sure that we are reining in these out-of-control, woke higher ed institutions, and I will continue to lead this fight.
Congresswoman Stefanik, you haven't just led, you haven't just gotten answers, you've gotten results. Thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.